An image has haunted my memory for as long as I can recall. No clear recollection of its origin, but it won't erase, won't release from my psyche. Rain, swirling water, tall wrought iron fence, a horse turning, circling in the water, white hooded rider, flame blazing in night air. Don't believe it was a cross, but can't be sure. The image won't leave me. I recall it being with me since early childhood, as if a dream, but not really. Won't go away. It haunts from just below the surface. It's just there.
License and registration, he consents your acquisition.
On the head of the fallen
Remind me that
angel.
this is a team effort. Remind me to keep going.
Time, my shirt.
Did you know that your hands came with a ripple effect?
Like silk.
We got the same dreams. I mean, blood, sweat, and tears win by any means poetry.
Sway, look at me. Is a piece of the pie too good for me?
Some may call it rock the mic. We call it poetry.
Hello and welcome to Sojourn with Words. I'm your host, Sistah Joy, and we are thrilled today to be in studio, well, my home studio right here, celebrating poetry. And we are excited because we have with us a phenomenal poet, Christina Rau. And I'm going to share a little bit about Christina before she shares her poetry, and we'll do a little bit of conversation, as it were, so that you get to know a little bit about the person beyond the poet. So Christina, first again, welcome to Sojourn with Words.
Thank you so much for having me, Sistah Joy. When you contacted me, I just jumped out of my seat with glee. I'm just so happy to be here. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. Well, for our viewers, Christina Rau is the author of the Elgin Award-winning sci-fi femme poetry collection, Liberating The Astronauts, and the poetry chapbooks, Wake, Breathe, Move, and For the Girls, I. She serves as the first poet in residence of Oceanside Library for 2020 and 2021, and she was named Long Island Poet of the Year 2020 by Walt Whitman Birthplace Association. She received the honor of State University of New York Chancellor's Award for Creative Endeavors. Her poetry has appeared on gallery walls in the Ekphrastic Poetry Show, on car magnets for the Living Poetry Project, and in various poetry journals. Her prose has appeared on Book Riot and in Reader's Digest. And I understand that's a lifelong dream come true. I can only imagine. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see, a little bit more. Christina also serves as editor-in-chief for the international literary journal, the Nassau Review, at Nassau Community College, where she teaches writing. In her non-writing life, when she's not teaching yoga or offering Reiki, she's watching the Game Show Network. Let's stop there. I don't know how she fits it all in. Folks tell me I'm on roller skates, but Christina, thank you for being with us. You're a very busy lady.
I am a busy lady, but I like to keep myself busy. It keeps me out of trouble, so I can balance my time really well.
Okay. Well, I mean, you have identified a very specific niche for your writing, the subgenre of sci-fi feminist poetry and speculative poetry. Oh my gosh, tell us, first of all, tell us what that is. Give us
I know.
for instance,
Well, I didn't actually even know it was a thing And I had been writing a lot about space, and science has always been really interesting to me. And when I was putting my collection together, I saw this theme of science happening. And then I found the Science Fiction and Fantasy Poetry Association. And they've been around since 1978. And they are an international association that is devoted to all things that are speculative poetry, which also covers a lot of different kinds of poems. So science fiction, the way you would think of a science fiction story as it appears in verse, but also steampunk and horror falls into it. Also poetry about fairy tales and nymphs and gnomes would be under the guise of speculative poetry. And the sci-fi femme comes up. Aqueduct Press, which is my press, they specialize in science fiction feminism. So anything that has like powerful women figures devoted to women's lib, anything like that, that also has a sci-fi aspect to it would fall under the guise of sci-fi femme. And apparently that's what I write, because that's what Liberating the Astronauts is based on.
Okay. Liberating Astronauts. When did that come out, or is it out now?
Oh yeah. It was published in 2017, and then in 2018 it won the Elgin Award, the SFPA Elgin Award, which I was also tickled by.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
And we want to make sure before. Well, actually, let's take a minute here. Pause for the cause. Station ID. Tell folks, how can they be in touch? How can they, obtain your works? Is there a website or?
Yes, yeah. So I have a website. It's ChristinaMRau.com. And that's also where you can find me on any social media like Twitter or Facebook or Instagram. And also Aqueduct Press has a site where you can get the book from my website or from Aqueduct Press. And yeah, so it's Christina M. Rau. It's just easy to find everywhere.
Okay, and Christina is with 2 I's, no Y's, right?
Yes, correct. No Y's in there.
Okay, ChristinaMRau.com.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing that bit of information. And the sci-fi feminist poetry and speculative poetry, oh my gosh, this is very unique and very specific. Now, I understand that your current writing, projects, you're shopping around a non-speculative poetry collection called What We Do to Make Us Whole. And you're also working on a poetry chapbook about Nikola Tesla. I'm going to stop there. You got to tell us. Oh my gosh.
Sure. Okay.
What's happening?
Yeah, so I'll start with the chapbook. I have had like this weird connection with Nikola Tesla for quite a few years now. A lot of people don't know who he is. He's an inventor, and he had kind of like a rivalry with Thomas Edison, and he also had a rivalry with Marconi, and a lot of his inventions, he didn't want to patent anything really. He just thought he was doing good for the world. And so a lot of people took his ideas, kind of changed them, made them their own. So he like envisioned like this entirely wireless society. He was like really on top of his game in science.
What year time frame are we talking about here?
Oh, see, now you're asking the hard questions. Whenever Edison was
Okay, so we're talking back in the day.
As back in the day, like light bulb invention, that's what we're talking about. When we were trying to light up cities. My brother's very disappointed. He's a history teacher. So Nikola Tesla, he just basically had all these inventions, and out on Long Island in Shoreham, he has a place called Wardenclyffe, that this huge tower used to stand there where he would, do experiments with electricity. And so I have this chapbook that I've been working on called Tesla, My Love, Our Everything. And it's devoted to, he was a very interesting character. His mind worked very differently, and he had a very interesting life. So it's devoted to his life and his inventions. And so it's kind of speculative in the way that it's kind of reinventing his thoughts, but it's also based a lot in science. I always say science has the best words. Science has really good words to use in poetry. So I'm working on that alongside, I'm working on What We Do to Make Us Whole, which is a poetry collection that it stems from Well, I have this kind of common theme in all of my writing, including in the speculative, where it stems from getting through things. So Liberating the Astronauts is dedicated to people who, they don't feel like they fit in anywhere. And so like we don't fit in, we have the freedom to stand out. And what we do to make us whole is kind of along similar lines, going through grief to get through gratitude and using gratitude every day to make us whole and to make us feel that power that we all have inside of us to share peace, share happiness. And that's, I've been through a lot of stuff in the past few years. And I think especially through last year, a lot of people have been through a lot of stuff. And it's a way to find our way through all of that, because we don't really get over, we just go through and we learn and we become stronger for it. So those are the two things I'm working on kind of like simultaneously.
Okay. Now I understand that you do workshops, and I understand that you have particular prompts that you like to use, such as poetry as lists. Tell us about your penchant for workshops and why workshops work for you as a poet.
Oh, sure. I love workshopping. So whenever I get into a room with people that want to chat poetry, I am like so there. And I actually have a workshop coming up this weekend, and it's a yoga poetry workshop. So it's
yoga poetry.
Yes, we do a little bit of meditation in the beginning. Then I lead us through like a simple sequence, and then we kind of talk about like, where did you feel that in your body? Where did you feel ideas coming from? And then we kind of write about movement. We write about like the power and energy that we feel. And so that's always a fun thing to do. And one of my favorite workshops to do is the poetry of lists and how to catalog. So there are a lot of different lists that we can find. Like Whitman is especially somebody that made a lot of lists and catalogs, and just finding ways to take common everyday things and put them together and make them either into a metaphor or make them symbolize something or develop a cadence through sound and rhythm. And so there's a lot of different things that you can do with a list, either within a poem or a poem as a list, and getting people just to kind of like use words and get it down on a page. And then suddenly there's a spark there and their eyes light up, and then they can't stop writing because they're writing furiously. That brings me so much joy to see that creativity in other people. And it inspires me too. I love workshopping because I get ideas too.
Okay. And with regard to some influences on your writing, who is it that you can look to say this particular poet or this group of poets impacted my writing style, and why?
I guess that differs over the years. I was very into the Beat Generation, and Lawrence Ferlinghetti just recently passed away. He was 101 years old, and I believe it was about 2 weeks ago he passed away. And that was kind of a big loss for me, because I read A Coney Island of the Mind in college, and that's when I realized, oh, I can be a poet. This is like something I can do. Like it's doesn't just have to be a hobby. It's something that I can actually do. So that was a huge influence on me as a writer in my younger adulthood. And then moving on right now, Tracy K. Smith is just I can't even, as a poet, I don't even have words to describe, but her life on Mars just means so much to me, because that falls into spec po, but also it's a dedication to music and David Bowie, but it's also just a dedication to our lives and how we live. And that her words just really influenced me. And her podcast that she had for a while, The Slow Down, where she would read somebody else's poem and then discuss it every weekday. That meant so much to me, just hearing her speak about poetry. So I would say that she's a huge influence on my writing and just on my life in general.
Right. Now, speaking of podcasts, do you have podcasts? Do you host?
I don't. I wish I did. I enjoy them and I listen to them, and I've guested on a few of them. There's one called The Sleeper Hit, which is really fun, that I listen to. And I guested on a podcast called Dear Maddie, which is no longer a podcast, but you can still listen to all the back episodes. And I really enjoy that format, because you can kind of like listen to it on the go. And
yeah, it just seemed like it would be a fit for just listening to your energy. Okay. Well, let's see. When we talk about what are you reading? What does Christina read?
Oh my goodness. So I am like, okay. So I just read, I've been reading a trilogy collection. It's a collection of 3 books by Alexis Pauline Gumbs. And she wrote, one is called M Archive. That's the one I read first, but it's really the second in the trilogy. The first one is called Spill, and the last one is called Dub. And she is a Black feminist theorist, and her poetry is part verse, mostly prose poems. And the way she puts these books together is she takes these feminist theory books, these things that she has read, and she uses them as her source material. And she'll find just like one line, and it will be footnoted in the back of the book. And with that one line, she will create a poem sparked by that line. Every single poem, every single piece is sparked by a different line in that poem. And M Archive, especially, it's M Archive After the Earth. And it's this speaker is a researcher that goes back and looks at what has happened to cause the Earth to stop and to basically implode, and what is left of that, and how we live after that, and who has lasted after that, and how we rebuild. Oh, just takes me away. Every single page is just like dog-eared, and I'm writing all over it. And that is just like my main inspiration right now.
Let's make sure our viewers get her name after all of that. Alexis Pauline Gum, Gumbs. Yes. Alexis Pauline Gum. And we hope that our viewers will delve into her works as well as the works of Christina M. Rau. Christina, we know that we want to hear some of your poetry. So how about we get to it? Why don't we let them see all of this fantastic work that is such very, sci-fi feminist poetry, speculative poetry. Ladies and gentlemen, viewers of Sojourn with Words, it is my privilege to present the poet, Christina M. Rau. Take it away, Christina.
Thank you so much. So I will read one from Liberating the Astronauts. Recently, I believe in the past 2 weeks, the Mars rover landed on Mars, the newest rover, and that was so exciting for me. And so this is about a previous Mars rover. This is called Curiosity. Though sound does not carry, it hums to itself. Each movement becomes a note on the line between the lines. Sheet music coded somewhere deep. Deeply digging or a shallow swipe, the experiments happen automatically, it seems. Every day, a record of date, time, temperature. Every day, roving and digging. Every motion a buzz, a frequency. Noises in patterns, incantations to make the work go by, the day go by, until winding down when Earth's sun sets. Machines do not get tired. They work, alone and diligent, stoic and swift. On August 5th, everything changes. Curiosity roves around and completes a series of movements it does not follow on any other day. It hums, passing the time to the tune of Happy Birthday, a party of one, sampling the finest astroloam, the densest space matter below a surface. It does what it does as it does every day. The only difference is 225 million kilometers away, where the women and men tug on pointed hats and eat cake and blow out candles and sing along, celebrating another year of life.
Wow. Okay. And the title of that again was?
The title of that poem is Curiosity.
Curiosity. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Christina. How about another? Please, you're on a roll. Yeah.
Sure. I will share with you a Tesla poem. How about that?
Yes, yes.
Yes. Okay. So this is called Turning Motion into Motion. The current is how much. The voltage is the force. Edison is the direct enemy. The professor called the alternate useless, claimed it simply couldn't. Electrons must flow from negative to positive is something they must have said directly to their students, their staff, time and time again. They didn't have the machines of Tesla's mind, the visualizations vivid and churning, the flow, the systems, the operation of both, a trial and error for free. You see, Tesla had supersonic hearing, overly sensitive nerves, lights too bright for his eyes to take, owing it all to illness of twitches and tremors, and owing recovery to walks outside, owing AC to lines from Faust. The glow retreats, done is the day of toil. It yonder hastens new fields of life exploring. Ah, that no wing can lift me from the soil, upon its track to follow soaring. It's a whirling, rotating force. It's a rapid change of direction. Its terminals taking turns to move the charges from place to create the power they said would never be possible.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. I'm so glad I got to hear you actually perform a Tesla poem. Yes, yes. Okay, so to think that there'll be a book of Tesla poems, I can't wait.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
Well, let's see. Can we fit in one more? Can we fit in one more before we, time is getting away, but please, Christina Rau.
Okay. So here's one that I wrote probably like in the past year or so. Beyond now, there's then. Right now, it's low days. Quiet that quakes deep. The wanting felt all over a body hurt, a body whole. The intricacy of circuits, pathways carved out where all this stays. Right now, the minutes stretch through the day has gone quick. It slows up, marking a box on a grid until they are all blue X's. Right now is here, this unsettled, feathered notion sitting at the bottom, an unstable foundation about to crumble, crash down. And then there has to be something beyond right here, right now. Otherwise, there's no point in sunrise, summer storms, or stars. No reason for pink sand, high wires, or windmills. No value in all the years, all the subtle glances, and all the all-overwhelming wonder this expanding universe has to offer in a tiny locket hanging from a thin silver string. I close the clasp at the nape of my neck, clutch the charm to my chest, brushing aside any semblance of hope, an unwarranted expectation for unpredictable desire. And instead, I fall into the complete confidence of faith, knowing this now is different from the last and will keep renewing into a life worth living over and over again.
Okay, Christina M. Rau, thank you so much for coming on to Sojourn with Words and letting us know about what it is that inspires artists such as yourself. I'm speaking for our Sojourn with Words viewers, Christina Rau, author of the Elgin Award winning sci-fi femme poetry collection, Liberating the Astronauts with Aqueduct Press, and also poetry chapbooks, Wake, Breathe, Move, and For the Girls, I. And of course, when we talk about what's coming up, her current projects that she's, as she said, shopping around a non-speculative poetry collection, What We Do to Make Us Whole. And as we definitely are looking forward to our poetry chapbook on Nikola Tesla. And let's see, the essay collection about grief and gratitude called Always Look Up. We are excited to have presented you to our viewers here on Sojourn with Words. Thank you so much. We wish you much continued success. And we know that your students at the community college, you're still teaching there, right?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Yeah. So I understand that they are blessed to have such artistry every day. And sometimes it takes a while for folks, young people in particular, to understand the significance of what they have right there. But we thank you for molding those young minds, and continued success for all that you do. This is Sojourn with Words. I'm your host, Sistah Joy, presenting the best poetry everywhere. Poets such as Christina M. Rau. Thank you for being with us. Enjoy poetry, keep writing, and please, for our viewers, be in touch and let us know what you think of the poetry program, Sojourn with Words. You can reach me simply at poetsistahjoy@aol.com. That's all one word, poetsistahjoy@aol.com. Or you can reach me under my Poet Laureate hat as Sistah Joy at pgahc.org. It's all about poetry. Thank you so much. See you next time right here on CTV for Sojourn with Words.